Welcome to the Jimmy Daytona Show, where I highlight the stories of people I've met in my travels over the last decade who have lived their best life and who have a lot of interesting and neat interests and to make it a point of living life in full. Today, my first guest is Laurie-Beth Robbins, also known as LBR. She's a writer, a speaker, and a passionista of life who gallantly shares her palate and penchant for healthful exotic cuisine and exquisite wines and champagnes in tandem with her lion-sized heart in each room she enters. Follow her on Instagram at LBR is here. Welcome, LBR.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. It's wonderful to be here and a lovely introduction. And it's exciting to be on your podcast. Living life. Life is beautiful. And I feel lucky to be a part of it.
That's wonderful. What made you have that ethos of living life in full and, doing all the fun stuff you've been doing?
Well, life is so precious. And, I lucked out in the parent department. I had two very wonderful parents who my mother is such an effusive, bubbly woman and optimist. And I always say I chose my parents very well, you see, but I always say that if I can age half as gracefully as she, then how lucky am I? And she had such a Zoftic attitude. She still does at nearly 81. And we didn't really have time to be depressed, so to speak, because we really were supposed to enjoy the moment, enjoy the food, enjoy the love and the warmth. And our dinner table was a little eccentric, but it was very warm. And that was a big part of my life. And it's hard. I think the olive doth not fall so far from the tree, so to speak, and that I got a lot of my mother's verve and zeal for life. And so I have that. And no matter what the day, no matter how crummy something, none of us are immune to a bad day and to unpleasantries, but it's all how we wrestle with it and how we choose to see it. And I choose to see life as beautiful, regardless of the day that comes. It doesn't make a difference in the fact that life is still beautiful for me.
That's wonderful. I'd love to hear more about your father of blessed memory and what he taught you.
Well, thank you. He's no longer alive now, 3 years, but he certainly was. He was a professor and he was a teacher, even as a father. And the biggest takeaway from that man, who also had a lion heart, he was a gentle giant, so to speak. I got his skeletal genetics, perhaps that way, in height and big feet and hands and so forth. But I also inherited his gift of gab. He was an extemporaneous speaker who never used notes. And he always taught me that you are luckier for what you don't get, for what doesn't come through, the job or the boy or the crush or the trip or the journey, whatever it is, we're devastated at the time, but we dodged a bullet. Somebody higher than our almighty ego was looking out for us. And so growing up with a man really emphasizing that if something didn't come through, you are lucky for it. And having a mother who was so full of life and encouraging that optimism, and the glass is always half full and the attitude is up, it was hard to not have a resilience or a bounce back ability to the vicissitudes of life that may not have been so fun. And I'm very fortunate that I had those two people that I always would say that even if I wasn't related to them, if we lived in the same town, I would have invited them to one of my dinner parties because I found them that appreciative and that interesting and that warm. And that's what I look for people that I want to be with, is appreciative and interesting and warm. And so I was very fortunate. And a big part of my parents, I certainly wasn't adopted. And a big part of my parents is certainly within me today. And I know that, and I feel them with me in everything that I do.
Wow, that's wonderful. I'd love to hear about your siblings and besties too.
Well, my besties, God is first and the salmon gods are second. Everything is a passionate food, exotic, healthful cuisine and beautiful wines. And it's not, I never have food without wine or wine without food. That goes together. And so really I do a lot within, a lot is internal. I don't have a big group. Certainly I've navigated some large social media groups back in my Facebook days. I'm currently not on Facebook and I'm very new. I'm just a neophyte to Instagram, but I will build that account in the new year. And I invite people to come. I don't bite and I respond to every comment and I'll follow you back so that people are welcome. But I keep my circle off media very, very small. And I'm not a social media is a wonderful surface level of interfacing with people and cheering each other on. And I love that. And promoting our arts and what we want to share with the world as a representative page or wall, so to speak, a little taste of each other. But I keep my personal life very, very small and meaningfully.
Makes sense. It almost seems in some cases you have a love-hate relationship with social media. What's been some of the downside for you in that regard?
I really do love social media, but I don't have it on at the dinner table. That's my sacred space. And so it's not as sacred to me. I think naturally on social media, it has dumbed down. Technology has made it so magnificent that we can text somebody in Japan and have them get it this second, regardless of time changes and continents. But we also, in tandem with that, can fall prey to scams, to pushy salespeople, to people who are using it as a free dating site or on there for reasons. And they have obfuscating methods of pinging people in Messenger or trying to look interested in supporting what you're doing, but really what they're looking for is something else. And so that's par for the course. I think there's a hell of a lot more good out there. I really do. If you look for that and you steer toward that, then there is bad. And there are so many upbeat memes and hilarious videos and humor that it behooves us to take the good. You know, what did they say in The Godfather? Leave the gun, take the cannoli. And I think we have to do that every day, particularly on social media. Don't get into the divisiveness. Don't get into the arguments. Share your art, share your heart, do your part with the world, and then get off and have your beautiful real life off of the screen.
Well, that's wonderful. How did you get into like cooking and sharing all these zany, unique foods that almost nobody else is interested in or even knows are food? You know?
Well, I think people do. But it's certainly not for everyone. And as I always say, you don't have to eat what I eat, but you do have to eat. And so that is a correlation we all share. And I get so passionate about it because unlike any other genre, whether someone loves sports or whatever they love, we all can come together with food as the almighty connector. And for me, food is everything. It is the medicine, it is the fuel, it is the energy, it is the aphrodisiac, it is the nutrition. It is absolutely everything and the connector. So at a very young age, it started early, and I was asking my parents in rural Vermont, no less, for these exotic treasures to eat: frog legs, octopus. And we don't know, the jury is still out on where that came from, because I certainly wasn't seeing it on our little black and white TV that had 2 channels in the basement. And my friends in our rural area were not eating that. My siblings were not interested in that. My parents of humble middle income means in that rural area were not exposing me to that. And we did not have access to that in our area. So here was their precocious 6-year-old demanding or requesting these gourmet gastronomical items. And to their credit, I will say that my mom and dad did the best that they could with the means that they could to go. And this was before the internet, where you could do a nice Google search and find out where the octopus is in the next 50-mile radius. But they went to the end of the earth. They did what they could to expose me to culture and to try to get me to see beyond just the area that I was in, and to give me a chance to try frog legs and octopus. And at one point, I remember my mom drove 2 hours and to the nearest mock city in our state and got a can of turtle soup that she found in some store. And she thought, I have a 6-year-old who will like this. And she brought it home and she said, "Well, what did you think?" And I said, it was all right, but it wasn't real turtle soup. And she said, "Oh, all right, from the mouths of babes." And now I was a connoisseur, right? She said, "It wasn't real turtle soup. And why not?" And I looked at my parents and I said, "Look, turtles don't come in a can." Apparently neither did I, because I was a stickler from that moment on for authenticity. And that is one of these, to me, as I say, it is a big, big tenet of my living, that I believe in authenticity to a fault. And even with pictures, I know with the social media, you asked about social media, so many people edit and filter and alter their pictures. I don't do it of my pictures or videos or of the food. What you see is what you get. And it's all just from a phone, and it is what it is. But I don't look down on the women or men who alter theirs. I think you do you, and do however you want to represent yourself is fine. I just feel very strongly for me and my representation that I don't ever want someone to see me on social media and then meet me in a Starbucks and be waiting and not even recognize me when I walk in because I don't look anything like the picture. I want to be representative of who I am. And I love aging. And I'm one of the few who's not doing the Botox. And now I'm letting my grays, or as I affectionately refer to them as Arctic blondes, come in. And I absolutely feel so lucky to age and to sharpen and to deepen. And so I don't want to tweak and change that. I don't. But I think that the people who do for their own choices, that's wonderful. I don't look down on it at all. Or the people who alter and do the Botox. I have gorgeous friends who do all of it, from surgery to fake hair, lashes, nails, eyebrows, all of it. And they are stunning. And I have friends who are 100% natural, and they don't alter even a photo, and they're stunning. And I think you all, like anything else with food, with social media, with how we represent ourselves, with altering pictures, whatever it is, we have to honor who we are and what we want, and not judge. It's not, people do things for different reasons. Our job is not to judge what they are. So I totally applaud those who do their thing. But from a young age, the food drove me and steered me toward a passion for authenticity and a passion for keeping it current. I don't want a picture of me from 2 years ago on there. I want where I am now. And the same with the food. I don't eat leftovers. I have a big Leviathan appetite. I eat once a day, mind you, over the course of a 4-hour span of cooking and relaxing and snitching and plating and photographing and eating, and then finishing the wine. And that whole start to finish tango of luscious bacchanalian fun, if you will, is a 4-hour part of each day, not just on a holiday, but every single day. And it is my favorite time of day when corks are popping. And all of that started and has been a part of me my entire life, wherever I've been. And it steers me toward authenticity. The food should be real. The experience should be real. Life should be real. I want to connect with real people. So social media can be disappointing sometimes when there's the ghosting and the games and the alternative motives that come through as other things. But if you hold on to your core of who you are in this big, beautiful world, and on social media certainly too, I believe we draw in more like-minded souls in the long run, and we do start matriculating in the right room and the right circle if we don't get involved with the toxicity and become a part of that.
Oh, wow. These are some great insights, LBR. I know
Well,
you're a big fan of red wine, champagne, and savoring. Do you have any red wine and champagne recommendations for my listeners out there?
well, what I can say, my blood type is Cabernet far more than champagne, but I do love to open champagne with a sword, or with a champagne saber, or with the back of a cleaver, or a samurai, or a machete. Oh my, yes, it's very fun and very festive. And I always teach that. If you go on my Instagram, you can see me teaching it this season nearer Thanksgiving when I sabered. And I mail the corks to someone else. I don't love bubbly as much, but I do love the big, luscious reds. I grew up in the world having red wine with our dinner from the age of 10 on at the dinner table. I was allowed to have a small glass nightly, and now the glass has gotten bigger and the wine has gotten better. But I was exposed to it as part of the meal, not as a get drunk thing. In fact, my father, that was another thing I got from him. You know, he always said, never ever go to the wine in your sorrows. Never go because you had a bad day. Never go to get drunk. Never go because you're upset. Wine is a happy thing. Having your libation is a cheers. It's a toast. It's what is the old adage that you don't drink to feel better. You drink to feel even better, as they say. And so it should be rejoicing with family. You know, there's a quote about drinking someone's family in a glass. and all the struggle of the vine that went through the climactic conditions, the financial challenges, the warmth, the joy, the sorrows. Part of the definitions of passion, one of course is joy, but one is also the struggle. And so the passion of the vine and the passion of that, and that combined compassion, that shared struggle and joy that a family shared to make the wine that we drink, that fishermen laboriously toiled with yeoman's work so that we could have this beautiful food. There's so much that goes into it. And so I love the big reds, but I also feel you must have what you love and what loves you. And for all of us, those are very different things with wine and with food. And so the real way is to try it. And if you try it and you know what you like, but my father was a big proponent of that. It should be a happy thing. And he loved the softer, what I would call lighter wines, but he loved Beaujolais of Gamay grape. He loved Pinot Noir. And he always said, I drink chick wine and you drink Guy wine. But I had a big lion palate for the Cabernet and the red meat raw, and so my palate is definitely more the lioness. But have what you like, because when a wine salesperson says, oh, this is so great, I had it last night, it's a very subjective field like everything else, and it may be very tannic and terrible to somebody else. And what someone thinks is so dry and not too sweet, it could be sickeningly sweet to me. And so it depends. But I grew up with old world wines, and so France and Italy and Spain, and I meandered on my own into the new world wines, and now love the upper tier of American cabs and the blends. And that's really what I adore. But I still started with the old worlds and can certainly enjoy the Premier Grand Cru Bordeaux and some of the Amarone and beautiful deep rich wines of Italy and so forth. But if tomorrow were my birthday, I would request an exquisite high-end American cab.
That's wonderful. Do you have any favorite brands of cab?
Well, I love Screaming Eagle, which the winos refer to as Screagle for the top, and Sine Qua Non and Dariush and Insignia and Colgin and Scarecrow and Bryant family. I mean, I could so many California brands. And then there's Camus and Quintessa and a lot of the and some blends, and I love them all of the big mocha velvety higher end cabs. But it is harder to find a house wine in the American Cabernet family that is not so doctored up with preservatives and chemicals. And I'm a sensitive Sally to all chemicals. Food is my only medicine, bar none. And so I have to be very careful and up my tier with wine so that I'm getting the purest, most beautifully made wine, or I will be the litmus test. I will be the canary in the coal mine. If you want to know if there's junk in a wine, have me drink it. And I rash and I react to it. And it just is not a pretty thing. So there's a method to my madness, not in just getting a delicious wine, but also one that's very beautifully made, because I will respond better to it.
That's wonderful. Lately, I've been going off the beaten path with my wines. I really am liking red blends, especially Lebanese, Greek, and Portuguese, where they have either grapes unique to them or they're very good at making red blends. And you turned me on to Moshe which is a Greek white.
Yes.
And that's treated me really well the last couple of years.
I'm so glad. Whites are so nice and bone dry and crisp, and so many people love those, particularly with shellfish and with crustaceans and cephalopods. If you're getting all of the Greek, the cuttlefish and the octopus and the calamari, and so those bone dry Greek whites are beautiful with that. I'm not a big white fan, but I am now having cognac during this season while I teach my mother the art of cognac. So if I have to drink white wine, that's the route that I go, but I do prefer the reds. But it's wonderful that you know what you like. And that is what I want everyone to take away, that find what you like. And there's no right or wrong. All of this, when I used to conduct wine tastings around this big, beautiful world, I always wanted to demystify that snooty enophilia, and make it everybody deserves to be part of the club. And it's not some secret society. And I think that it's important to make that very friendly and break down some of the etiquette, teach people how to enjoy wine, how to hold their glass, how to food and wine pair, and what to do with the cork, and make that less intimidating and help them deduce what it is that they love and help them enjoy it too. So I always like to have more of an edutainment, humorous, informative presentation with it. But the main thing I would stress is just what you revealed, that everybody likes something so different. And so it really behooves us to discover what our palate is and not feel that there's a right or a wrong or a gauche or you're uncouth if you like white or you like this. Have what agrees with your system and your body and your sinuses. The histamine difference with white and red is tremendous. So some people can't handle a red wine or it'll make them sick. So you've got to honor your nose, you know?
Yeah, I know my brother and my mom, they really know what they want. My brother likes Josh and J-Lore Cabernet, and my mom really likes Pinot Grigio. So it's like they
What?
found a system, they embrace it, they run with it. You know,
That-
they don't go off the beaten path like I do, but you know, I'm starting to learn the art of finding something you really love and honing in on it. Yeah, thanks to the two of them.
And the nice thing about them liking different things is that then there's more for them to have of their own if they're not sharing it, right? So but yeah, but it's fun. Wine is fun. And again, for me, it's a part of the meal. And so every day I have my wine and meal, and it's just very luscious, beautiful, delectable stuff. And I feel so grateful to God in that moment. You know, that is really a God moment. I mean, how can one sit and gourmet themselves and not realize what a treasure we have every day to nourish our bodies with such delicious things. I get excited. I'm always salivating like a Pavlovian pup 3 days ahead of what I'm going to have the next Thursday. You know, I'm already thinking about it. So very fun.
I remember I met you at your Hot Topic series in 2019. I'd love to hear more about how that five show experience was, and also what got you into public speaking and edutainment.
Well, I started public speaking in school at a young age, and my parents, ironically, it was speech and food, my two loves now. And when I was a young girl asking for these gourmet things, I would ask my parents to take me to gourmet restaurants in reward for winning speech tournaments. And so again, to their credit, they helped uncork this interest and foster it. And so that was my barter system, where if I win the state championship, will you do this? And so it was that. And of course, the leads in theater. And so I was very active with that. And that was a safe place for me, for all of the drama, for all of the expressiveness to get out in a creative form. And it's just something that's very lucid for me. And I did get my father's extemporaneous gift. So I've never used notes or a teleprompter or cards or any of that. And I do speak from the heart. And I've also taught that, of course, on the college level as an adjunct professor for mass communications, public speaking, on different campuses. And I always taught them 100% extemporaneously, my students. So on day one, a lot of them wanted to drop the class when they were told you will not be allowed to use notes. You will never have flashcards. And they said, oh, I can't. But they all learned to masterfully do it. And I had refugees from countries all around the world, Cambodia and Uganda and Bulgaria, and they all learned to masterfully stand up, which is such a testament that if these students where English was not their first language could do it, then I wanted the others in the class who do speak English as a first language to learn that they can do it too, and that anybody can do that. You don't need to hold a piece of paper to speak from your heart. So I taught that, and so it was very natural for me, therefore, to give something back to the Seacoast community. So I did it for free. I decided I'm going to give this. This is going to be something I leave to the Seacoast, and I came up with 5 topics. It was divisiveness and courage and listening and including, and it was something that I thought would help engage people at a time when there was a lot of divisiveness. And so my hope is that in a little tiny way, it may have brought some different walks of life together. And I was just humbled that people would come out on a Sunday or Saturday morning and listen to me. So I'm very grateful for that, and grateful that you were there. So that's wonderful. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's wonderful to meet you, and wonderful to meet a lot of our common friends through that whole series. It was quite a bit of fun. And one of the things I noticed most about it, it's like you take one word, you know, and go off for like 20, 30, 40 minutes about it. Like, how do you develop that skill to like just take one seed, one word, one concept,
Well,
and just spread it out? No notes, no nothing.
yeah. Well, I'm very fascinated with ideas. I love to speak about ideas. I love when we speak about forgiveness or about surface or depth or authenticity or courage or these things. And I just find it so fascinating. And I think that when you can explore, that's what interests me. When people are on social media and they want you to see that they look this way, or they have this money, or they have this, or they have so many friends, and they want you to know that they have thousands and thousands of followers or whatever it is on Instagram or on their Twitter or what. I want to know other things. I want to talk about ideas, and I find it absolutely vital. And I always say, if I want to know about a person, I'll eat with them, because I will know everything that I need to know. And mostly not, and it doesn't matter what they eat, but it's an attitude. It's, are they appreciative? Are they grateful? Are they looking at me in my eyes? Are they warm? Are they nice to the wait staff, or if it's private or in public, whatever it is. But you really learn about a person. And the same with ideas. When you talk to someone about divisiveness, when you talk to someone, and one of the things, Jimmy, I'll just say, I'm particularly grateful to be on your podcast, because you are one of the people who is a standout in today's milieu and tempo of divisiveness, as a man who absolutely doesn't throw people out due to another ideology, due to someone voting differently. And so it goes, and we share that common thread. And so it's always very wonderful for me to not only connect with other individuals who enjoy opining and espousing and pontificating and ruminating about ideas and life and all that exciting stuff over food and wine, what could be better, right? But also people who aren't there to judge people. I wasn't raised by people who would ever have unfriended or blocked or deleted someone because they voted differently. We had Democrats and Republicans of every extreme in our house for dinner. Someone doesn't have to be a copy image of me. That's not, and I saw that in you. And that was one of the priorities of being on your podcast, because I really respect that about you too. But I find, speaking about ideas like this, bonding. And I think it's important, instead of gossiping about people, or instead of speaking about the superficial or the sports scores, only because I'm not a sports enthusiast. So I can't, that's not going to fascinate me, but I totally love that people are zealous and passionate about that, if that's their fancy. But I really love sitting down and speaking about deeper things, different dimensions. We're all these multi-dimensional creatures if we're dancing through life properly. We're not just one surface thing on the mirror veneer. And when you can sit down with someone and really get to know them and how they feel about the world that we are so blessed to occupy a mere fraction and brief transient sliver in time in it, that is so quick. And here we are getting to dance through that. How lucky are we? That excites me. That arouses me. That fascinates me. And so that's the kind of thing I want to speak about, whether it's at the dinner table with one person intimately, privately, or whether it is at a gathering over brunch with many people or on social media. But I don't want to be any part of the judgment and the divisive milieu, which was one of the topics I spoke about at the series that you attended.
Wow, that's wonderful. One of the things I've noticed you say, like on your social media posts and speeches, how grateful am I? I mean,
Yeah.
How did you develop such a sense of fierce gratitude?
Well, I definitely am grateful for every single moment. And, the real self, and when we do the work, as they say, the real self underneath is an unflinching, unflapped strength that we all have. We all have that capacity to be grateful, to be strong, to be these wonderful warriors and heroes and sheroes, and to have that. But it's when we let all of the non-self, what isn't anything to do with the self, our name, our clothes, our as I say, the veneer, the externals, the noise, the influence, the turbulence, as I call it, outside, the fighting, the biting of others, the toxicity, we allow that into our life for a while. And it's very hard for people to be grateful and to find that wonderful appreciation for life when you are standing in the wrong room. But if you dig so deeply down, as I say, in your heart, soul, and might, and you do the work and you understand the real self that has nothing to do with that, unless you dance with it, unless you choose to bring that in and let it influence your real self. But we have that choice. We know from the greats, we know from the Viktor Frankls, we know from all of these people who survived the insurmountable, the seemingly insurmountable. We know that it's about choice. We know that it's that formidable weapon of the mind, that we can choose what we will react to. And we can choose to say, none of this has anything to do with the strong core of self inside. And so with my guiding compass of that attitude, I cannot help but be grateful, even when someone is awful on social media, even when there's a terrible day, even when you're navigating some struggles. And it isn't that I don't have a crummy day. We all do. No one is immune to hardships in life. There are horrible, horrible things that happen. But how we choose to dance with that really is the reveal, I believe, of the inner authentic self. And that is the only thing that matters to me at the end of the day, is the real self. And none of the turbulence has anything to do with that. It's like when you're on a plane, and I've written columns about this too. When you're on a plane and it's bouncing around to high hell, it's not fun. All right, particularly in a post 9/11 era where it's not fun to fly through the sky in a tube and not know what's happening. And now it's bumpy. But you don't like the plane, the turbulence. The plane doesn't mind it. All right. So we have to understand that the plane isn't all upset that it's bumpy and windy. The plane is going to fly. The plane is designed to fly. The plane is not putting emotion into it. And the plane is not going to work itself out into a frenetic, or work itself up into a frenetic state. And so it behooves us to be strong like that too, and understand what we were designed so beautifully to do, what we came into this lifetime to do, what we were designed to embody as the real self. And when you are even cognizant with a modicum of that, I believe it's impossible not to be grateful and not to say, how grateful am I? I always say it's one of these fists to heart, how it reminds me that's your heart beating. It's still going. And so you're not done yet. You're not done. If you can feel something here, then you're not done. And look at this little catling. Who is this joining the Zoom?
Yeah, her name is Nefertiti. She turned 15 on Halloween. She's
Oh,
a really sweet girl, really playful, really rambunctious. She'll like to chase shadows and enjoy her food and just be overall adorable. She and I are very high-strung type A individuals, but paradoxically, we calm each other down.
I love it. Chasing shadows. It sounds very Jungian to me, but does she eat any people food or just cat food? I always ask everyone what they eat, what their animals eat. I'm fascinated by it.
She's a big blue buffalo fan, both with wet food and dry food. I just serve her the best, and God willing, she'll stay as healthy as she can, for quite some time.
Wonderful. Now, did she ever get a snitch of your salmon, fish, or steak, or no?
Yeah. She likes Kentucky Fried Chicken, and
oh my goodness.
She likes tuna fish, and sometimes she'll beg for that. She's a little choosy as to what she begs for, but she really likes it when she does. And I guess she's circling back into the room. So, and I
like the story. You've raised her well. Yeah, she has an interest in the world, right?
Yeah, she certainly does. She's Egyptian queen, that's for sure.
Love it. Named well. Very apropos.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll credit my former wife for that, but she named her pretty well. So I'm gonna ask my last question before I wrap this up, or last batch. I noticed you've been doing a podcast too. I'd love to hear more about that, as well as some of the other fun endeavors you want to tackle in 2022 and beyond.
Well, I am moving, and so people can stay tuned to that, and that will be revealed. There will also be some speaking and writing and food culminations of everything coming together in the new year, and that's exciting. And I have been a guest on a lot of podcasts lately of myriad. It really spans a wide gamut of topics, and I feel so honored again just to participate, just to speak with people and connect with people, because if any of my shared sentiments help anybody out there, even a little bit, then again, how grateful am I? I think that we have an obligation. What do they say? Knowledge is nothing if it isn't shared. And I think our personal stories provide a little bit of knowledge, a lot of heart, and a lot of how we navigated our moments. And if it helps somebody else out there, then it really is the finesse. And so by doing these things, I think we share a little more. And as I say, if it even helps one person out there in some good way, or entertains them or something, then it did its job.
Wow, thank you so much, LBR.
You're very
grateful
welcome.
am I. Thank you so much for being my first guest and for sharing, what makes you tick, your many cool, unique interests. And I'm sure a lot of people will be intrigued by what you've got going in the year ahead. How can people reach out to you on the socials or elsewhere?
Yes, they can find me at LBR is here on Instagram. And they're welcome to follow or send me a note there. And I do respond. I respond to anything kind. So as long as it's kind, I will respond to that. And yes, it's a very exciting year. I'm very humbled about the new year ahead, and I'm very excited. And there will be more coming at different parts in the first quarter of the new year. And it's a very exciting time. But I'm very grateful to have shared space and time with you. I thank you for having me on. You've been a wonderful attendee of some of my lectures publicly. And it's just, I'm very grateful to share it here with your endeavor, because this is exciting that you're doing this too.
Thank you so much, LBR. Have a great afternoon. And thank you so much for coming on the Jimmy Daytona Show.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao. Thank you.